So on the agenda today, since we're starting Circuit 3 and with the professional development plan, so being that this is the third circuit, we are working at the top level of the pyramid, and the top level of the pyramid, of course, being intensive intervention. And this means that it's the assessment-based intervention that results in individualized behavior support plans. And we know that from our trainings that top level of the pyramid is a very small percentage of children. I want to say 5 to 8%, something like that. Mm-hmm. I wanted to talk a little bit about, I know in a past conversation that we had, I think you said you had not noticed a need from the last circuit that might fit into the top level, into intensive intervention. Has that changed, or have you thought of some other?
Well, I'm seeing where it maybe can build onto it, but not really in the same thing. And the other thing is, I can see using strategies from the top of the pyramid, but we don't really have any kids who are in the top of the pyramid.
Okay.
You know?
And that's fine. That is totally fine. So then let's take a look at the fidelity summary. And your teapot that was done on May 19th is listed here at this time. And so we have the strengths, emerging skills, and there were no professional development needs. So taking a look at those, as well as always looking back at your inventory of practices too, on the right side of this. Those are some considerations. And then I did, well, before I tell you what I did, do you have any in mind that you think you might like to look at in terms of?
Well, something that I was thinking again, and again, this is me being in the mixed age room, and having spent a week in there, and then, now this is actually kind of interesting, because I'm trying to think of how to do this, because then I'm not in there, and I realize issues that are happening when I'm not in there, because I have a certain relationship, or I have a relationship with the children where I can have a mutual trust, respect relationship with them, and can do some guidance strategies that other teachers are really struggling with, because they don't have the relationship. They seem intimidated. They have a relationship of intimidation, and the kids know it. And so I was just really surprised coming back one day and hearing somebody, unfortunately, talking very negatively to a child about their behavior the day before. They were saying, "Now, are you going to be good today?" And I was like, "She did a great job yesterday. What are you talking about?" Well, she's not at nap time. She was running all over the place, and she was really a problem. I thought, "Oh my gosh, why are you saying that in front of her?" But the second thing was, I have not had any problems with that. And so I'm realizing that there are some other teachers, and actually it wasn't a teacher who said that, but I'm realizing that other teachers are having a really difficult time, especially with that one child and this one time of the day. And so what I was thinking that I would like to try to do is use some strategies. And the thing that I was thinking of maybe doing was doing one of those kind of in-the-moment transition schedules, the schedule within a schedule, where it's an individualized thing that this child is going to use to move herself through that schedule with the other teacher. So this is, for me, it's almost kind of as much as helping the child with this transition, on their own independently as it is helping the teacher help work this child through a transition, through this
Now,
particular transition.
are you the assistant teacher in the classroom then in this situation?
Technically, I'm supposed to be the assistant teacher.
Okay.
Yes, that's kind of the technicality of that.
Okay. And is there any reason why the teacher in the classroom wouldn't be open to using some tools for that child?
No,
To
and I
gather
think that they
data.
would be, I think they might be a little intimidated by data things, but I think I can do this. I think that they would be grateful for strategy.
Okay.
I think they would be grateful for some strategies.
Okay, great. So, because we know there are lots of good tools to gather information about, what's happening with that one child, the time of day, what the challenging behavior is. So without thinking of it in too big of a picture, we want to choose something that's very specific, measurable, to get started, to get started gathering the information.
And actually, there's two different ways I could go with this, and I'm thinking what I would like to do and what I thought would be easiest for them is that concept of the schedule within a schedule, and just working through that schedule within a schedule. And the data collection and stuff, I can see doing some of that, but I think the real bare bones of it is that the child is behaving both probably to get out of taking a nap and to gain attention. Both of those things are definitely happening, and you can see that is really being. They are getting what they want. They're getting out of a nap. They are getting a lot of attention, and I think that might be too personal a place to start though with the teachers. So I'm thinking the strategy, and then.
Okay, so what does assessment-based intervention mean to you? The description of that intensive intervention level of the pyramid is assessment-based intervention that results in individualized behavior support plans. And what I think I'm hearing you talk about is the individualized behavior support plan itself, the second part of that. Do you have any information already gathered on this particular child?
If you're talking about like a check mark thing, no.
Okay.
I don't have a check mark thing. We can do those things and definitely be documenting when are the problems, what the behavior, what happened before, what happened during, what happened after,
Okay.
those kinds of things.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm getting, leading to, because that would be a real good first start in terms of the practice-based learning objective that you're.
I guess what I'm not understanding is how do I make that an objective? That's not a skill that I need to learn. So that's where I'm confused. I'm like, well, I know what the problem is, and this is a strategy to help solve the problem. And I feel like you're saying, well, let's go back and try to say what the problem is. And so I'm like, well, how do I make that my objective of what is the problem? Or how can that be an objective? I guess that's more like it. How is the filling out a form, or how can I actually do that? I'm not here this week. I'll be here next week. I'm back on, so then I can do a lot of data collection next week, and that wouldn't be a problem. Doing data collection, but I guess I'm like, how does the data collection turn into? My goal is to collect data on a kid for 2 weeks, or that's where I'm lost.
Okay, so why don't we write down specifically what you would like to do on the, on our practice-based learning objective, and then we can, because I think I'm gonna need a little time to think about how this is gonna work with your vacation and being the assistant teacher and so forth. And I think what you're saying too is that the forms that you would use in the Pyramid Plus approach, you already know how to do and know how to get the information on the child.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I just want to make sure
Well,
that
I'm
we're
thinking
not
if
jumping.
I'm doing I guess my concern is when I think about doing the forms and stuff, then what we're going to see is, look, teacher, you are encouraging this behavior, and I think they're not going to be ready to hear that. What I'm hoping I can do is put a tool in their hand that they can use that can help them to handle this transition easily, both for a positive experience for the child on a daily basis and a positive experience for them, without the, and I think that the first, this is going to be kind of like the first tool I hand you. And if the first tool I'm handing you is look in the mirror and see how you're messing up, is going to be really hard instead of, here, let me give you some Clearasil and use that on your face for a while, and then let you look in the mirror once we have things cleaned up a little bit. And
So I'm wondering if there's a way to share with the teacher that there's a way to gather the information about that child to help her come up with the right plan for the child
possibly.
to work.
See, the other thing that I think is really hard with this, and this is something that I always think must be really hard for you guys as coaches, that when you are coming in and coaching someone, you have to coach them at their level. And the people who are in there, who are the lead teachers now, are really first-year assistants who have not had, they have like 101 or ECE 101, and that's their level of early childhood education. And they've been in the classroom for less than a year.
Right, but remember,
so it's like, how am I really trying to, my goal is really kind of almost more about them than it is about the child. It kind of is a little bit of both, but I'm not experiencing problems with the child.
okay, so if there's an uncomfortable element working with a particular teacher, and this is your practice-based learning objective, which it's about you and you learning this strategy, then that teacher doesn't necessarily have to be involved at all.
I'm
Because
aware
there's-
of that, but
okay.
I'm thinking I'm not having an issue with the kid that I feel like I need to go on the top of the pyramid for. That's my problem. So I'm thinking, where do I
Oh,
go
I
to
know.
the top? Oh, I can go to the top for this kid, but the problem is
Right.
with me.
Right. No, I understand what you're saying, and maybe that's because I didn't explain it very well, is that it doesn't necessarily, in the circuit, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have a child with that problem. It could be just that you want to learn how to work a strategy, and what are the skills of that strategy if that were to come up.
Okay.
And
I see where you're going there. So then I'm thinking, how do I practice the strategy without a child to practice it?
Right, okay. And that too can be done without a child in certain circumstances.
Depending upon what the strategy is.
Right.
Um,
So, okay, so can we take just a break from that? And let's go back to that in just a minute. Let's just go ahead and back up just a little bit on your professional development plan itself. I want to make sure that meeting your learning style, we have our learning styles listed, and did you have any other thoughts or anything that's come up in the past 2 circuits that you wanted to add to that?
No.
Okay, because mine are still the same, except that I realized visual is not on here. It did not come up in the Minletics, and yet something I realized very, very strongly recently is that I work really well with colors. And the more I can organize my thoughts, my notes, just about anything in colors, helps me tremendously. So I just wanted to throw that out there because it was something that came up for me. So I'm meeting your learning style. Okay. And I'm wondering too that just from this conversation, that I feel like I need to figure out a way to better explain what's happening in Circuit 3, you know. And
Well, it's just like doing what we did in Circuit 1 and 2. I'm thinking, how do you learn a skill without a child to practice it on? And saying, well, you can practice with the teddy bear, yeah, but how much good is that really going to do me? You know, it's like I can learn from an online class, but it's so different than being in the classroom and talking with other people and having a back and forth thing, you know?
Yeah, and I have faith we'll figure it out. I have faith that whatever it is that you want to learn, we'll figure out how we're going to make that work so that your learning really, you know, it really is a beneficial learning experience for you, and not putting anybody in an uncomfortable position, like a teacher or a child. So we'll work that out. We'll work out those details.
Okay.
I have faith in that. So we talked about the learning styles, and then how about culture related to professional development or change?
You know, one of the only thing that I think in adding to last time, again, I definitely had that logical resistance. I want to know the why. I want it to mean something. My time is feeling a lot more valuable to me, and so I want to know why. If I'm going to put my effort into it, I want it to mean something. And I guess I'm thinking more about other people's feeling of change, because I'm in another room, and being in this other room and working with some other teachers and seeing things that really need to change is really, really hard.
Right.
And part of that is me wondering, sometimes feeling frustrated at the lack of support around change, the lack of desire around change, or I shouldn't say lack of desire, fear. That's what I really sense when people don't want to change, it's fear.
Do you have a fear of change?
I do at times, but, well, I guess I'm thinking, is that holding me back? Because I'm seeing that holding another teacher back, that fear is really stifled an opportunity to grow. And then being with other teachers and just not knowing where they stand with change, because I don't want to push things on them. But they're like super quiet, shy, and they're not going to say I need something. And so like trying to find where is this balance and this change that needs to happen. So I'm not going to be pushy, I'm not going to be the know-it-all, but we can make life so much easier for them and for the kids, and have this be a healthy, positive environment. So I guess I'm just thinking a lot about change on many different levels.
And it is on different levels, because you're thinking not only of your personal feelings around change and professional development, but you're also thinking about the peers around
I'm
you.
thinking about others much more now.
Right. And I think that's a strength too, because of just your awareness of that. And so I think it's an opportunity for you to get, just get more information and more, get some resources to help you with that feeling. And I mean, that's something I can help you with as a coach in this circuit. Because the last thing we want to do is put anybody in an uncomfortable situation. We want them to see the positive results of this work too. Okay. Anything else you wanted to mention about that? Okay. And share with me some of your strengths and your needs around, well, let's go ahead and jot some notes down about your practice-based learning objective, and I always forget it's in this box over here. Because it's a little different, because it's different than the skill set rubric. So let's get some notes jotted down about that, and then we can talk about the strengths and needs around that specific strategy.
Well, in all honesty, I don't know what to do.
Okay.
I don't have a plan and I don't have an idea, because the plan and idea that I had was to try to solve a problem in the classroom that I'm seeing.
Okay.
And that is
And
a problem between a teacher and a child.
Okay, so the child.
Or I shouldn't even say a teacher and a child. It's a child and every teacher but two.
Okay. Because
there's a lot of people in that boat.
Mm-hmm. So the child has a behavior, a challenging behavior. And what is that challenging behavior?
It's a nap time, and it's running around the room, giggling, talking to other children, which then kind of instigates other children. Sometimes at time, even just really calling children, come on with me, that kind of thing.
Okay.
During a time when she's supposed to be on her nap.
Basically disrupting everybody's nap time routine. Okay. And so some of the strengths associated with this objective, what I've heard so far, is that you have some information, you know how to collect data. Because you talked about the antecedent, you said what happens before, and you described the behavior, and you recognize that, which would be a need, you recognize that the teacher might not be as receptive, or do you think the teacher realizes there is a problem? It sounded like, yeah.
They definitely know there's a problem, yes. And there's 4 or 5 different teachers who've been in there. So we can say teachers, plural, who are having this same behavior is happening with multiple teachers.
Okay. So one of the things was the teacher may not be ready in this situation, the teacher may not be ready for assistance with it, or...
I think that they're ready for strategies, but I think there's a difference, and here's a strategy that we can use, and I can help you learn how to use this strategy. But I don't know that they would be ready for, let me show you how your behaviors are instigating or reinforcing. That's the word that I want. Let me show you how your behaviors are reinforcing, because I worry that they will take it personally.
So I'm pretty confident that there's a way to do this that's not going to come across that way. Especially if it's done in a way that you're just talking about what the issues are and you're not pointing fingers at anybody, you know. And what are the challenging behaviors? What is the child doing? And keeping it on that level rather than the teacher's not doing something right or the teacher needs to do something differently. Does that
Depending
make
upon
sense?
what we do. But I think if we go antecedent, behavior, consequence is, do you see how you just gave them what they wanted?
Right. And then a lot of times these things will happen as they're working on it or they're watching it. Then it's like, oh, you know, the light bulb comes on and they see it themselves.
Well,
It's leading them to find the answer.
other strengths that that I'm seeing is that I'm not having issues with this child, and I was thinking, why am I not having issues and they are? And one thing I think is I established a routine for that time. So I think a knowledge of routines is a strength. I think knowledge of or having a follow-through is a strength. I think confidence is a strength.
Absolutely.
And then within that routine, having some kind of cues as well. It's not just about having a routine, but a cue that's letting them know this is the end of this step and the beginning of this step.
Okay.
I think those are things that are happening that seem to be pretty positive and helpful with that.
Okay. So if we were to really pinpoint the strategy, the learning-based objective for this circuit, then, you know, obviously we'd be able to come up with the measurable goal 2 and then the action plan and the timeline. And how do you feel about meeting again just for that piece, just for that part of it?
Okay.
And that will give each of us a little bit more time to consider what is it specifically you want to do. And it'll give me some time to kind of go back to my coach and talk to her about how to proceed to, because this is an area of the circuit that I don't have as much experience.
Well, and if you could ask her about, because my idea, my thought was creating that schedule, creating that small schedule routine for that specific time for the child to do. And in doing that, that's creating a routine, and it would be for that child the cue of this is over. And it can actually even build in cues that the teacher would do, and it wouldn't be you need to come up with a routine, but we need to do this to support this child. So at this time, the lights go out because that's the cue for this child. Well, then it'll end up being that cue for everyone and set up that consistent routine with cues of what does the lights going out mean? What does the music going on mean? What does just the lamp light mean? When can I have my book? When do things get put up? You know, all those different things would be built into a schedule that then we teach the child how to use with the teacher support. And so they're moving through that together.
And all of that is definitely part of the assessment-based intervention that results in individualized behavior support plans. That's really, you're talking about your individual behavior support plan. So what I want to make sure is, do we have to have any kind of data collection first, or can we jump right to that?
Okay,
So let me find that out and we'll go from there.
all right,
Okay, thanks.
sounds good.